On March 31st, 1906, Teddy Roosevelt brought together the heads of various universities and formed the NCAA to ensure safety in collegiate sports. Soon, it also took on the role of keeping these sports fair, fun, and legal. What has ensued is one of the greatest failures in the history of mankind. College sports has constantly been covered with cheating, illegal recruiting, violence, money scandals, and similar things for the past century. In recent years, things have been looking up, but from where the NCAA was before, that's like saying things were looking up for the Jews when Adolf Hitler died. Yeah, things definitely are getting better, but really, how worse could they get? Maybe if they allowed concealed weapons on the field, or just let players use steroids and other illegal drugs like the MLB does. No, what we need is to clean up college sports with a drastic change that many people might not agree with, because they claim it makes players not amateur or student athletes, or stupid words like that. We don't need to get rid of the NCAA, we just need to do something they've been stopping or trying to stop for a long time. We need to start paying college athletes. The main argument against paying college athletes is that they are amateur athletes and therefore should not be paid. I think this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, including that the one football player tweeting about how Osama bin Laden's death was sad and people shouldn't be happy about it. My first piece of evidence against this is simply take a look at college athletes' daily lives. They work out constantly, eat assigned meals, practice day and night, miss class and other important events for big games and practices, have everything they do monitored by a trainer, bring in millions of dollars for their school and the NCAA in revenue, have to have press training and are constantly in the public eye. The list goes on and on. How can you not call this professional? And back to the money. The NCAA makes millions of dollars a year off what these players do, and where exactly does the money go? Certainly not back to the players that earned it for them. Here's a graph of how much the NCAA makes off of advertisements during basketball alone. Also, tons of merchandise is also made based off college athletes. Jerseys, posters, bobbleheads, you get the picture. Companies make millions off that, and guess how much the players get? 50% of all profits? No, they get nothing, not a freaking penny. Think of it this way. A little boy runs a lemonade stand for 4 days and makes lots of money. He gives some of the lemonade to his cousins, and they sell it for money, but don't give any to the boy. Then the boy's uncle comes over, steals all the money the little boy made, kicks the boy in the nuts, and tells him what he's doing isn't a real business, then leaves and buys himself a new car with the money. That's pretty much college sports. Okay, maybe the amateur argument made sense 100 years ago. Back when college football was becoming a hit, the Olympic athletes and many Olympic sports were considered amateur and they weren't paid. But that's changed, and so has the world. Don't give me that BS, oh, well, they have scholarships. A well-respected man on NPR said, basically, a scholarship boils down to a device that keeps the players on the premises while they can perform their services for free. They're the equivalent of what we used to call kept women. We can't let that be true anymore. If college athletes are only kept women, then people are going to stop watching, because people don't like watching women's sports. So shut up about amateurism and just pay the athletes already. Probably the biggest problem in college sports has always been cheating, illegal payments, illegal recruiting, money-making controversies, and similar things. Some recent controversies include Cam Newton's pay-for-play scandal and Terrell Pryor selling his championship ring for money. Also, a more local controversy was Enes Kanter being ruled ineligible to play for UK basketball due to him accepting benefits from his professional turkey club. These benefits, while not illegal, did revoke his amateur status and ban him from college sports. This was hurtful to UK, but nowhere near as bad as players getting in trouble from being given benefits from their own universities. This has happened time and time again in college sports. Players have received cash, cars, houses, you name it, to play for their certain teams. None of this is permitted by NCAA rules, so teams relied and rely on secrecy and deception, only furthering the problem. Many teams also throw games for money. They engage in things like point shaving, which is where a team purposely loses the game for money. Players do all of this because this is their only way to make cash. Some players also break rules without meaning to, and hurt their teams and their fans. They sell things like game jerseys because it seems okay, and can bring much needed money to their families. This goes back to my lemonade analogy. Imagine a little boy, and he works hard all day for his uncle's lemonade stand because he wants to buy his mom a box of chocolate. His uncle doesn't pay him, but gives him a cup of lemonade. The boy sells this for money to buy the chocolate, but right before he can, the uncle runs in, slaps the boy, sends him to timeout, and gets everyone to call him a cheater. Not fair, right? The NCAA is very twisted. Cheaters play for national championships, while hardworking and honest players miss their senior season for trying to help their family. If payment rules were in place, this injustice will never happen. Almost all cheating happens because players aren't paid. Do you really support cheating? Then either let me copy off you from now on or support paying college athletes. Education concerns are also huge for college athletes these days. Their sports force them to miss class and homework, depriving them of learning. Many are forced to cheat or have others cheat for them to pass, which only hurts them in the end. For example, Dr. Boyce Watkins is a professor to many of these athletes at a university. He says he knows of at least 2 athletes who went through college and weren't able to read. Can you imagine the rules they or others broke to help them pass college? I bet you they had to have people even spell their names on tests for them. And most athletes don't even go professional. So how are these poor players going to turn out? Just go downtown and look down an alley to see. I've talked about money before in my speech, but I have one more point to make involving it. College sports are losing many of their finest athletes to professional sports for one big reason: the money. Here's a chart comparing normal job salaries to professional athlete salaries. On average, an NBA player makes over $5 million a year. Think about that. Ever heard of Chuck Hayes? He was that one black guy that played basketball for UK. Remember him now? Yeah. Well, he's a bench warmer for one of the worst NBA teams, and he is still richer than you will ever dream of being. Players basically lose money in college for the same amount of work. So unless they're completely stupid like Tyler Hansborough, they go pro in order to make it big, at least money-wise. Imagine how good UK basketball would be if the NCAA had paying policies and John Wall and those guys had stayed. We can dream or we can make changes. Unless you are as slow or as demented as the NCAA, you can now see why paying college athletes is definitely the way to go. We can end cheating, suffering, education concerns, and loss of college athletes with this one simple change. Unless you want the only interesting college sport to be watching Brittany Griner terrorize the other women basketball athletes with her enormous body and Godzilla-like noises, or you want college sports to be corrupt and unfair, you will agree that paying college athletes is the best option. It's time to finally fix something in America. Give the players what they earn, pay college athletes. Thank you for your time.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. That was awesome.